where do I even start? Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am Adorkable Rachel, and it's time for another episode of Rachel Reviews, so let's just hop into it. I did not like this movie. I did a poll on Instagram the other day to see if any of you out there thought that I would actually like this movie or not, and so many of you predicted that I would think it was decent. I love y'all, but some of you are hilarious. I did not have a good time with this movie, and I was super annoyed, and it's really good. And it's good to know that I'm not alone here, because as I'm recording this video, it currently has 54% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I'm really not a big fan of all these live action Disney remakes they've done over the past several years. That's not a big secret, but honestly, that's not what's wrong with this movie. And given the decent reaction of the audience that I saw this with, I'm pretty confident that this will make a lot of money at the box office and will find an audience, and a lot of you out there may not even agree with me, but you know what? This is my channel with my opinion, and you came to watch my opinion, so that's what we're gonna talk about, which goes a lot further than what I've already mentioned. Can't even drink wine right. Obviously, this Dumbo film is a remake of the animated Disney film from 1941. It was the fourth animated feature from the company, and looking at it today, it's really not that spectacular, and it's very simple and basic in its story, but it's visually stylistic, has some really great moments, and for lack of a better word, it's cute. Really, 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 really cute. And it's no wonder that it's still remembered fondly to this day. I can see why this would get a remake. A remake is meant to be a retelling, or even like an improvement of the original. And while I don't think that a remake is necessary, I can understand the creative reasoning for having a go at this one. Because the original is simple, and it's short, and doesn't have a lot going on, so why not try to expand on that story? You know, unlike when they remade Beauty and the Beast, which was a film that was nominated for Best Picture at the time of its release. Why remake that? Because that remake really sucks. I mean, that one did practically nothing to improve the original. I don't remember what kind of positives I might have given that movie in the review I did a long time ago, but you know what? Whatever it was, just ignore it. That movie had no merit for a remake. But any creative reasons for a Dumbo remake? Yeah, okay, sure, I get it. And in general, there's probably really nothing wrong with the ideas behind the remake. Baby elephant in the circus is laughed at for his big ears, learns he can fly and makes the circus a big hit. That's the entire plot of the original, and only the first act of this one. Then an entrepreneur, played by Michael Keaton, comes along and buys out this circus to make an even bigger circus for what else? Money, 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 money. And then insert lots of really cliche things that I'm not going to mention because I don't want to spoil them here. So yeah, we've seen this before in so many movies, but I kind of get it. But why did I still end up loathing this movie? Well, again, maybe it wasn't the ideas behind the movies that I just didn't like, but more like a handful of a bunch of things that just really ruined it for me. Like, you can just tell, based on all these things, that someone behind the scenes just did not care. I'd actually really love to maybe do a video essay about this movie someday. I think that would actually be kind of cool, but for the sake of this little review, let's just go over the basics. I knew we were in trouble in the beginning of the movie when they had a little montage of a lot of characters who were in the circus and their acts, and they were not the least bit impressive. I mean, I know that it's like an underdog kind of circus, but this was just not capturing my attention like the first scene of a movie is supposed to do. Like, they would even just show two people just standing there like this. As if that's something I'm supposed to be super impressed by. And right after that, they present the title card with not even a single sign of an elephant. And we don't even see any animals or anything for like several minutes after that. In fact, were the only circus animals in this movie elephants? That's weird. The original had like tigers and kangaroos and hippos. Why just elephants? Okay, I know, we're not here to compare it to the original, we're here to judge this movie on its own, but, you know, just to mention it, in the original movie, Dumbo did not talk, but a lot of the other animals did, so that way we're able to kind of get a grasp of what's going on, and we also heard some dialogue from the human characters, but most of the focus was kind of on the animals. In this version, the animals just don't talk at all, which, okay, not the worst idea, I get it, you're kind of going for a little bit more of a realistic feel, I guess, in a movie where an elephant flies. And they took Timothy Mouse away in this movie, except for a non-speaking cameo, but again, not the worst choice because most of the dialogue and the story is driven through the human characters. I get it. But the problem is that now a lot of the story is run through a father who lost his arm in the army and just got back into town, and through his really boring kids. Right off the bat, I do not care about these characters at all. There's no reason to. What's the intent? Where's the chemistry? Where are the character arcs even? Why Disney you do another dead mama? Was that a spoiler? Sorry. Yeah, but let's talk about these kids. These are some of the most cookie cutter kids I've ever seen in one of these kinds of films. They are too perfect. They always know what to do. They are not flawed. They always have the right answers. They're not even believably written like real kids. I don't want to harp too much on little kids' performances, but the girl in general is especially strange in this movie because she just constantly makes the same expression all the time. And she doesn't really show any emotions. She can be surprised, scared, happy, or confused, and she's just always making this face. Another annoying thing about this movie is that the dialogue can be so on the nose at times. Rather than showing us, this movie just loves to tell us stuff. Like the little girl is constantly talking about how she loves science and she doesn't want to be in the circus show because she wants to use her mind. Yeah, that's a direct quote. It's things like that. You see what I mean? Ugh. And she's also talking about how she wants to do experiments, and she does a few little things here and there, like experimenting this thing with Dumbo and blah blah blah. Okay, but like, it doesn't go any further than that. Cause just a minor spoiler, they build this part about her up, but does it ever play any big part in the movie that moves the story forward? Nope. Yeah, really great use of your outspoken feminism there, movie. And there's a lot of stuff like that in this movie. Stuff that's built up, but then hardly pays off. The dad having been in the army and doesn't have an arm anymore plays no big significant part at all. Okay, I'm sorry, I won't spoil anything else like that, but I'm just saying, keep an eye out because they're gonna talk about a lot of things in the beginning and throughout the film, and then they just like lead to nothing. Ah, that really annoys me. So Dumbo. The movie is called Dumbo. Dumbo's in this, so let's talk about Dumbo. Dumbo is a character full of love and hopes and dreams and so many zeros and ones. Okay, fine. The animation is not awful in this movie, especially with the bigger elephants. It actually looks pretty decent. But when my mom watched the trailer for this movie, she herself said she was really not a fan of the animation of the elephants. And she loves Dumbo so much, and she's kind of been there, done that throughout the years, so you know Mama Llama's opinion is valid, okay? When we first meet Dumbo, it's actually kind of cute. He's all covered in hay and there's a bit of a reveal to him and the hay is like hanging all over him and everything. And ringleader Danny DeVito comes over and he just like freaks out. And at first when I saw this movie, I was like, why? What's wrong? Why are we calling Dumbo a freak, Danny DeVito? Oh wait, that's right, his big ears that we can't see yet clearly in this movie? Also, I'm so confused. Why are the circus people so pressed about this? I thought that your circus was made up of a bunch of freaks. You just literally stumbled across a gold mine here. Again, I'm not trying to compare because that's really not the issue, but in the original movie, no one in the circus freaked out about his ears. The other elephants made fun of him and rejected him and wanted nothing to do with him because he was different, and in their circle, that is very, very distinct and kind of freakish. And I can of course also understand people in the public making fun of Dumbo's ears, but again, it's a little weird this time around because everyone in the circus audience makes fun of Dumbo when his big ears are revealed. Again, did we just forget that we're in the circus? The only people in the public that teased Dumbo in the original film were a bunch of punk kids who were probably out harassing just about everyone else in the circus because they're punk kids. That's what they do! But in this movie, why is a big audience at the circus making fun of Dumbo and his big ears? At the circus! What happened to making sense? Ah! You see what I mean by someone behind the scenes really just did not care? So besides that mess, one of the other big problems I saw from my observation is that people in this movie are just constantly going through the motions of what you do in this kind of story. Dead mom, boo-hoo. Oh wait, we already mentioned that. People just don't like Dumbo for plot reasons. The kids know exactly what Dumbo needs for plot convenience. The dad just does not listen to the kids when they really need to tell him about something. There's literally no reason for him to not listen. Why did you do that? In fact, wait a minute, they did that in Mary Poppins Returns too. Oh, it's so like I can't get into this movie because nothing feels natural. Honestly, fight me. I'd love to discuss this someday in a video essay. I'm not kidding. Nothing feels right in this film.
Hey buddy, you wanna see Dumbo too?
And then of course we've got the most money-hungry antagonist that you see in every Disney movie ever. Speaking of which, let's talk about Michael Keaton. This guy. After movie one portion concludes, in comes Michael Keaton as the entrepreneur who starts a partnership with Danny DeVito so that they can have an even bigger, more successful circus. And just going into it, I think this whole portion of the movie is admission that the original movie is just not like a complete story. Again, I'm not really against it because there's definitely more that you could have done with the original movie, but what do you think is going to happen with this character, guys? Probably the first thing that you thought of in your head, that's what's gonna happen in this movie. Comment below, let me know. Here's the thing, this character could probably have worked if he just had the teeniest little bit of that really special magical things that characters are supposed to have called motivation. Because really, the only reason Michael Keaton does anything in this movie is just to be evil. You could make an argument that money is often the motivator, sure, okay, but like, it still has to go a little bit more in depth than that. But even so, money doesn't seem to really be the motivation most of the time. He just does things for the sake of doing things. I don't think he even cares about his partnership or about the well-being of anybody. I think he's just kind of a sadist in this film. It's either money or greed or just plain being evil for the sake of being evil for this guy. How original and compelling. And he's just such an idiot too. Like, I can't go into much because of spoilers, but the choices he makes towards the end of the film are just like, why? Especially the scene where he just like starts breaking a machine. You have to see what I mean, but it's like the dumbest scene in the whole movie. But I will give the movie credit that they kind of unapologetically turned the whole entire Disney Corporation into one single human being. He just kind of comes in there and buys everything and then brings the whole entire crew to Disneyland. Oh wait, I mean Dreamland. Seriously, like, was that intentional? Hey kids, you remember that animated film Dumbo that had stuff in it? The trippy pink elephant scene. It exists in this movie. Kinda. Okay, I won't lie. In the original movie, that scene is completely pointless and really was probably just put in there to kind of pad out the very little story that they had. But you cannot deny, it's insanely creative and one of the most memorable things in that movie. And in this movie, they, for whatever the reason, decided that they were gonna have a little throwback to that part of the original movie, but it's weird because they somehow made it even more pointless. It's in the new circus and they're bubble shapes that I think were created by people in the circus. And Dumbo, for a brief minute, is really mesmerized by them, but he's not even drunk, so again, it's not clear if only he sees them. So I don't understand what kind of charm they were trying to create with that moment. It's like the remake was saying, hey, remember that thing you really enjoyed in the last film? Well, here it is, but not really. So why am I just not watching the original movie then? Why did you do this? Besides being really creative and interesting and weird in the first film, the one thing it did was get Dumbo up in that tree. So what was the point this time around? Oh, and hey, do you want to hear about the scene that really made me rage quit while watching this movie? Okay, so Michael Buffer, who in the real world is like a famous boxing announcer, he makes a cameo in this film. I guess he's really well known as that guy who says, "Let's get ready to rumble!" Yeah, apparently that's actually like a trademark to someone. I never knew that, to be honest with you. Anyway, he makes an appearance as a circus announcer. But that's not the strange part. And his appearance actually does have a little bit of a clever throwback because in his announcement that builds up Dumbo's appearance, he actually does use lyrics from the original When I See an Elephant Fly song. When I see an elephant fly. So, okay, alright, sure, I can go with that. That's definitely not the strange part. No, the real strange part is that he ended his announcement by saying, "Let's get ready for Dumbo!" No. happened. That happened. And we all let it happen. Oh my gosh. I didn't think things could get a whole lot worse, but that's literally probably the dumbest thing I have ever seen in any of these live action Disney remakes. Even dumber than Christopher Walken singing, "I wanna be like you." Oh my gosh. I'm not kidding. I think I died a little inside watching that in a remake about Dumbo that takes place in 1919. Oh boy, I was so done with this movie after that part. Okay, anyway, sorry, I needed a minute. What else is there? Yeah, I think that kind of covers the Cliff Notes version of what really took me out of this movie. And I know I've been ranting, so I really should just wrap this review up here, but there's also a climax in this movie that is so forced, and it just really drives me crazy. We're gonna be kind and we're not gonna spoil anymore. Do I have anything positive to say about this movie? Yeah. Visually, the movie is not that spectacular, but it does have some really nice shots in it, and the design work is also pretty cool at times in a very dark Tim Burton-esque kind of way, which is a good thing, especially with the circus stuff later in the film. I'm not against that stuff. Also, Dumbo in general, although computer animated, is really cute, and I think some of the most tender moments of the film were Dumbo and his mother together. I don't care about the kids and what they do for Dumbo. I want more of the stuff of Dumbo and his mom. Even the part where they have the Baby Mine song, which is such a beautiful song in the original, it's not that bad this time around the way that they execute it. And also the flying scenes with Dumbo, those are actually really, really cool. Like, you actually feel like you're flying with Dumbo. I didn't see this in an IMAX setting, but I imagine that probably IMAX will be the better way to watch this movie because, you know, just those flying scenes will probably be worth it. Surprisingly, there actually is a bit of emotion when he takes flight. Also, Ava Green is pretty good in this movie, and I know that I gave her a little grief on Twitter by saying she really did not look that interested in her character poster, but she actually was, ironically, probably the most believable character in this film. And yeah, Danny DeVito, he's here and he plays the character exactly as you would expect him to, but it's Danny DeVito and he's committed and he looks like he's having fun and he does a good job and is probably, again, one of the more interesting people in the film. So yeah, I really don't know what more I can say about this film for right now, but I think that kind of sums it up. And believe me, there's a lot more we could talk about, like the lack of depth and originality in this movie. Not to mention there's a lot of filmmaking choices that are just like, what? And the fact that so much of what the characters do in this film just don't make any sense. And maybe it's a little bit of an unpopular opinion, but I personally find movies so interesting in knowing what the intent was behind them, and watching this film, it just felt like whatever intent they were going for was just so lazy and just so cookie cutter, and I'm sorry, but you could have done so much and you just didn't bother. And just to be clear, this is not me saying that I do not like this movie because it's a remake, or even that it's a bad remake of the original, which, you know, it still kind of is, but I don't like this movie because it just kind of sucks on its own. They were kind of on the right track here, but there's no surprises, no twists or turns, and so much just doesn't make any sense. And it's a shame because this is probably one of the few movies that could have warranted a proper remake, but it doesn't really feel warranted once you finally watch it all the way through. No one in this film is interesting, the dialogue is terrible, the villain is especially hackneyed, poor Dumbo hardly feels like the hero in his own story, and because of all that, this movie just really feels like it's only a cash grab, and that's it. Which is a real shame. I think there could have been some real positives to come out of a remake of Dumbo directed by Tim Burton. Hey, what was the last really good film that Tim Burton directed anyway? Big Fish, maybe? And you know what? It's really not my place to say if a lot of the choices were Tim Burton's fault or the studio's, but either way, someone did someone dirty. And that's really sad because it made it less enjoyable knowing I was getting exactly what I expected I was gonna get. I didn't want this movie to be bad. I would have loved for it to have surprised me, but nothing surprised me in this movie. Except for, you know, the really bad filmmaking stuff, but like nothing within the context of the movie surprised me is what I'm saying. This movie, I felt close to nothing, and I don't know what to say. And honestly, on a personal level, the biggest reason this film is so disappointing is because, like I said before, my mom loves Dumbo. It's like her favorite Disney movie ever, which I cannot blame her for. But this movie also comes out on her birthday, and that would have been such a special treat for her, but I unfortunately had to tell her that I don't think it's worth seeing in the theaters. You want to see it later, then go watch it on DVD or on streaming or whatever, but just, don't waste your money, Mom. It actually does live up to the title. Dumbo is really, really dumb. Like no one else is gonna say that. So those are my thoughts on the Dumbo remake. Go see it if you want to, but I personally can't recommend it. But now I want to know, if you did see it, what did you guys think of the movie? Did you like it? Was there something that really inspired you? Or do you think that it also just kind of came off as like a really lazy cash grab? Thank you so much for watching my review. I am Adorkable Rachel, and don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, blah, 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 blah. Bye!